friends, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how I make pumpkin puree.
Cut the pumpkins in half. I like to start with the stems because the stems act as a guide to get your knife going. Rock it back and forth until you start the knife in and it'll cut. And we'll end up with two halves. Take your spoon, start on the edge, scraping and loosening up the pulp and the seeds. Trying not to cut too far into the flesh because the flesh is what we're after. From one side to the next, scraping away the orange fibrous material along with the seeds. Saving them in a bowl. Most people will discard this stuff, but there's actually a treat you can make for your family. And when you're making this pie filling, then you have a treat at the end for your family in the pumpkin seeds. Should end up kind of clean like that. It's okay if there's a little left, it'll disappear into the pie filling. Sometimes you can end up, as you're cleaning one out, you'll notice that you come into maybe a bad spot. So we'll just cut that out. Scrape it all out, see how big your bad spot is. And we'll just take and don't try to make round cuts, you'll just end up cutting yourself. Just make straight cuts until it pops out. Just like you're trying to make a jack-o'-lantern's eye. And then you can clean that hole up. And look inside, see if there's any more. A little bit more over here. Good to go, all clean. So that's what you do if you got a bad spot. There is kind of a trick that some of them, they can be kind of hard to clean, and if you want, it's a little easier to clean them. If you freeze them, then the actual part that you're after will become harder than the fibers. They're a little harder to cut, but a lot easier to clean.
Okay friends, I had my husband clean out the inside, so now what I'm going to do is brush the inside of them with some melted coconut oil. And then I'm going to turn them over on the pan. And so what I'm going to do is roast these at 400 degrees in the oven for 40 minutes to an hour. I'm just going to check them and make sure that they're soft to make our pumpkin puree. But before I do put these in the oven, what I'm going to do is stab some holes into the pumpkins. Be careful not to cut yourself. So these are sugar pie pumpkins that I got at our local store. So these are the ones that we like to use for the pumpkin puree. So I'm going to put those in the oven to get that pumpkin puree out of there. And I'm just using a potato masher to make my puree. Okay, now I'm just gonna bag them up in these vacuum seal bags and put in my freezer. I do 1 cup servings, so that way most recipes either call for 1 cup or 2 cups, so that's how I like to store mine. Okay, so we roasted 4 pumpkins today. One of them was really hard, so I just gave it to the chickens. It didn't soften up when it roasted. So out of the 3 that we did get, we got approximately 5 cups of pumpkin puree.
So we just added water to our pumpkin seed guts there. All the stuff we scraped out of the pumpkins. We just add water to get all the pumpkin seeds to float, and we'll just mash with our hands, and that will release all the pumpkin seeds from all of the pumpkin guts. Now we have all the seeds out of the mash, the guts. We're going to just let them sit there and drain off as much moisture as they can before we put them in the oven to roast. Pumpkin seeds onto a tray. We'll just kind of flatten those out. And then we'll cut some chunks of butter. You want to have enough butter in there to make sure that you get complete saturation on the seeds, because you're kind of frying them, not roasting them. You're frying them. So it's better to have too much butter because you're going to drain it off anyway. So just make sure we got enough in there that you get coverage. It'll melt and kind of fill up on. Be soaked up around the seeds, but you want to make sure you have enough to get soaked up. Butter and salt, that's all it is, 350. And every once in a while we'll take it out of the oven and we'll use a spatula to agitate them so that we get good roasting across all the seeds. And then when they're golden brown, we'll take them out, drain them off of all the excess grease from the butter, and let them cool, and they'll be good and crispy. Okay, we'll just agitate them a little bit. See, the edges are starting to get dark. So I just want to make sure that there's even cooking. So we'll just agitate them, flip them around. We'll do that a few times until we get good consistent coloring across all the seeds. And then that'll be time to take them out and drain them and let them cool. You can see they got a nice good golden brown look to them. And we'll just go ahead and dump them onto some paper towels for draining, and we'll let them cool. And as they drain and cool, they'll crisp up and get a nice crunch when you bite into them. There'll be a nice roasted flavor, salty. They usually don't last too long. Family usually eats them up that day. So roasted pumpkin seeds. So whenever you do pumpkins of any kind, you can, if they have good, nice, big seeds in them, you can save them for roasting. It's a good family treat.